Feeling overwhelmed by all the tech that it takes to get your business up and running online? If you're ready to cross the massive to-do of building a site off of your list, then you are in the right place. By the end of this video, you will have a solid grasp of how to get started with the latest version of Squarespace so you can confidently build and maintain your own website without having to pay a pro designer to get the job done for you. For the best Squarespace tips and site building best practices, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every single Thursday. To get started, we first need to make sure you're set up with a Squarespace free trial to start building your site on. To do this, head to squarespace.com and click Get Started. It's going to ask you a few questions to get to know your business and the purpose of your site, but there's actually a better way to pick a template, which I share in this video here. If you haven't already watched the How to Choose a Template in Squarespace 7.1, you're going to want to hit pause and watch that first. I'll link the video in the description below. To choose a template, just hover over the one you want and click Start. By the way, for this lesson, I'll be using the Brunton template. Though, if you remember from template picking video for 7.1, each template has all the exact same features and functionality, meaning with a little tweaking, you can make each one look exactly like the next, so there's no need to use the same one as I'm using today in order to follow along. If you don't already have an account with Squarespace, you'll be asked to create one now, so go ahead and pop in your details. Okay, so the first thing we need to talk about is how to navigate the back end of your site. The two most important areas you need to know about to get started building your site are pages and design. So let's take a look at pages. You'll notice in your pages panel that you have two sorts of sections, main navigation and the not linked section. Any page that you drag and drop under this first section will appear as a link at the top of your website. This area is known as your header or main navigation. This is where your pages like your blog, shop, services, about, and contact pages would live. The order that you drag and drop them here in your pages panel is the order they will appear in across the top of your site. Think of these pages as your top priority pages that you want visitors to see when visiting your site. It's best to limit your main navigation to 3 to 5 links. The rest of your whole website will live under the not linked section. Any page that you drag under the not linked section will still be live on your site, it just would not appear in the main navigation. In order for visitors to find these pages, you would need to share a direct link to them either through a button, pop-up, text link somewhere on your site or blog, or by sharing them externally on something like social media. To add a page, just click the plus button beside either section. You can start with a blank page, which is a great way to make sure your site winds up completely custom and looking nothing like the template. Or if you need a little help getting started, you can use a pre-built page layout created by the fabulously talented designers over at Squarespace. You have a few other options for page types which we'll touch on later in the video, but for now we'll just make use of these regular old drag and drop pages. Now let's look at what makes up the pages of your site. I'm going to click this edit button to open up the page builder for my blank page. You have two ways to add and manage the content on your page. You have your sections, and you have your blocks within that section. Think of building a page like building a house. Your sections are your stories, and the more stories you add, the taller your house gets. The blocks are how you furnish each story of that house. You can stack your furnishings one on top of the other, or place them side by side. And the more content you add, the taller each section gets. To add a new section to the page, click the plus button. To delete, click the trash. To reorder, you can use these arrows. And if you want to duplicate a section to make it easier to create a similar one somewhere down the page, you can do that by clicking this little Make a Copy button. To add blocks or content within a section, just hover over the area until you find an insert point. Click it, and Squarespace will show you all your options for content types that could be added to the page. As you can see, there are a lot of options, but the ones you'll be reaching for most are your text blocks, image blocks, button blocks, and spacers. To edit a text block once it's been added, simply click anywhere inside the block to pull up your options. Just type as you normally would, and then use the style, alignment, and font type options to tweak your text. Most other types of content can be edited by hovering over the block and selecting the pencil icon. Each block type will have its own options for editing depending on the type of content. Let's look at an image block for another example of the different styling options. Each image block has a content tab where you'll add and name your image. A design tab where you'll tell Squarespace how to display your images by selecting a layout and whether it should link to another page when clicked. As well, there's a tab for adding fun animations to your image. The last and most important block to know is the spacer block. This can be used to add vertical space between two blocks, or if you drag them beside other blocks, you create horizontal space or padding. Spacers can also be dropped side by side to create multiple columns for you to drag and drop your content under. Now you may notice that there seems to be a set width for my content on the page and that nothing reaches all the way to the edges of my site. To change the amount of built-in padding on either side of your content, you'll need to head into your section settings by hovering over the section and selecting the pencil icon. Think of this as the walls within each story of your house. You can make each room taller by adjusting section height, which will add more padding vertically around your content. Or you can make the room wider or narrower, which changes the horizontal padding. You also have options for moving your content around the room using the alignment buttons. Wondering how to add wallpaper to each room? Head under background and upload an image to be used as your background image for that section. Or hit search image to select from the free stock images that come with your Squarespace subscription. Once an image is added, you can use this little slider to tell Squarespace what part of the image to prioritize if the whole image won't fit in the section or container it's in. This is known as a focal point. You can also decide whether your background image will go wall to wall or whether you will have white space around the edges. You can also choose to add an overlay to your image by using this opacity slider. The color of this overlay is something you decide in the design panel, by the way. Which brings me to colors. Think of it like painting a room. The general color palette for your whole home gets decided before you ever start painting, and that happens in the design settings. But this colors tab in your section settings is where you come to tell Squarespace which color from that palette to paint this one room. Okay, so now that we've looked at the parts that make up each individual page, let's look at the parts that will appear site-wide, like your header and your footer. We already know that the links in the header are decided in your Pages panel by adding pages to the main navigation section and reordering how you want them to appear. But you have a few other styling options for your header right here, so click Edit, Edit Site Header. You'll notice we have 3 tabs, Global, Desktop, and Mobile. Any changes you make here under the Global tab will happen site-wide. So this means when you add your title or your logo, or add a button or social links or cart icon, or decide on a color and position for your header, these will remain the same no matter which page your visitor lands on. To change the actual layout and spacing of your header depending on the type of screen your site is being viewed on, just head under the Desktop and Mobile tab. Your footer acts just like any other section on the page where you can drag and drop whichever content blocks you like. Only the content you put here will appear in your footer site-wide, so you can edit it from any page and those changes will automatically apply to every page on your site. Before we leave the Pages panel, there's a few more things to know when building your site. If you plan to add a blog, shop, portfolio, or event calendar page to your site, these are known as collection pages, and they're added in the same way a normal page is. Only these are a little different from your usual drag and drop pages because they act as both a page that someone can visit, like a blog page, as well as sort of behind the scenes storage where you add and manage all the items in that collection, like writing your blog posts. Each collection page comes with a special built-in section to help it display your content from that collection. It's not possible to add or remove blocks from this section like you normally would, but regular sections can be added above and below your collection section for you to add whatever else you want to your page. Okay, so now we understand the basics of adding content to our site, but before we get started building, we need to make a few design decisions over in the design panel. This panel is also known as your site styles because the changes that happen here are purely stylistic or aesthetic. They don't add or remove anything from your site, they just style what's already there. If you don't consider yourself a designer and don't have any sort of pre-built branding package created by a branding pro, Squarespace makes it super simple to jump in and get started styling. Let's start with fonts. Squarespace gives you a huge list of prepared font packages that they know play nicely together. Just choose from a font pairing and watch as it instantly updates your entire site. You can even adjust the overall size of the font package by clicking this little plus or minus sign. But if you want a little more control over each font used on your site, just scroll below your font pack to see your options for customization. The same goes for your colors. Whether you choose a pre-built color palette or create one of your own using one of the options from this dropdown, Squarespace will instantly create 10 custom color themes from the colors in your palette. If you remember from earlier in this video, these color themes get applied to each individual section in whatever way we want. If you want complete control over your color themes, you can also click on each one to open up your options for customizing it. If you want to go the second route of designing your own font packs and color palettes, then tune in to next week's video where I'll be starting a 2-week series on using the Squarespace 7.1 Site Styles or Design panel to completely customize your website. Once the video is live, I will link it in the description below, but don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to be notified when each new video goes live in the series. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button. I really appreciate it. By the way, I'd love to know what you're currently struggling with when it comes to getting started on your site design. I love to take those questions and turn them into videos to help not only you, but also anyone else tuning in who might find themselves struggling with the very same thing. So go ahead and drop your questions in the comment section below to have them added to my list of video topic ideas. In the meantime, if you could use a hand knowing what all needs to be included on your site and where it should go, please feel free to grab a copy of my free Start Your Squarespace website workbook. In the free workbook, you will learn how to set up your site navigation to convert, how to properly use your inspiration websites without copying them, and how to design your site with your site goals in mind. I'll pop the link to that in the description below. Thanks again for watching.